Alright, today we have Justice League issue 2. Marvel's Justice League, that is. And we have a cover here. It is Superman versus a villain, while the rest of the team watch. It's even a very Bronze Age kind of Justice League of America cover. It's like that one of Superman and Captain Marvel's, the real one, Biffy Baston. Also, take a look at Firestorm's arse on this cover. It introduces things quite well. It says, when civilization tottered on the brink of collapse, they stood united against the forces of darkness. Men and women of vast power who solemnly vowed to do what no group of beings had ever done before, to create a paradise on Earth. Stanley Lee presents Justice League, a small sacrifice. We have a scene with Green Lantern, Green Arrow, and the Atom, Ray Palmer, and they are delivering food supplies to cities in America. And Green Lantern and Green Arrow, they do a little bit of showboating. They give short speeches to the people. And you'll see Ray Palmer gets ignored. He doesn't get offered the megaphone, and he is a bit upset about this. If you only ever read the Marvel Age piece on this series, I don't know why you would so specifically read an article teasing a series and then watch a video review of issue 2 of that series. In that, our writer and master chef, Marky Mark J, stated that each of the 12 issues of this series would focus on a different member of the team. And when it comes to the actual series, we don't have that at all. For the better, I would say. We get little moments like this, and we build each of the characters together with bits like this. The mayor is then taken hostage by terrorists who are still harping on about yesterday's threat, when Dr. Bedlam enslaved the Justice League. They feel that the Justice League should be held accountable for the creation of concentration camps while they were under Dr. Bedlam's control. And they're not too happy with their current actions of positioning themselves as the ultimate authority on what is good for the planet. They plan to publicly execute these 3 members of the Justice League. They call themselves the terrorists. They call themselves Freedom Force. I wonder where Christopher Clairvoyant got the name for Freedom Force from a month later. Nah, to be fair, that is clearly a coincidence. You'd hope that someone in editorial maybe would catch that October 1985's Justice League issue 2 introduces a Freedom Force, and then November 1985's Uncanny Excellent Men 199 also introduces a different Freedom Force. Anyway, Green Lantern, his power prism, which they took off him, can still be used by Green Lantern, even when it is not attached to him. So he is able to turn the tables and take them by surprise. One thing I do want to stress is the Justice League's actions overall are not heroic. They do some bad stuff in pursuit of building a utopia on Earth. But little things like this, their emergency food program, these are good things. Even Green Lantern acknowledges that this hostage situation, it went on for so long here because he was waiting and trying to steer the gunmen away from the crowd of civilians. These are good people. They are mostly misguided heroes. They are not becoming total fascists overnight. Green Arrow is also British, and they don't entirely stick with that, and it is not clear where in Britain he is meant to be from. Not Newcastle, definitely not Newcastle. We don't want this Green Arrow, not Newcastle. His actions in this series, that's more of a Glasgow thing, if you ask me. There was something else I wanted to cut away to here, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, it was the concentration camps from the Defenders story. Missed that opportunity, didn't I? Yeah, Dr. Bedlam, when he took over America and then the world, he built concentration camps. The relevance of that plot point has come and gone, though. You don't need to see it. They're not mentioned again now. Next, we have The Flash and Firestorm. Well, mainly Firestorm. And Firestorm is quite a great case for Marky Mark G's ability to write a layered character. At this point, Firestorm is sympathetic. We can feel for and understand Firestorm and his pain. His parents are in hospital and they are dying, and it is here where Firestorm learns that they are dying from radiation poisoning, and he realises that he is more than likely the cause of it. To back up a bit, in issue 1, subscriber to the channel, A. Pilgrim, said that this character seemed to actually be a character from Superman comics. No, it's Firestorm. This team is based on the satellite era of the Justice League, but without one of them. There's only, I think, the one character from that lineup not represented here. He had never been introduced before this series. That might be the reason for his absence. But the guy we're looking at now is definitely meant to be an analogue for Firestorm. By this point, you might have forgotten the cover and its promise of a supervillain appearance. But we are almost there. Here we have the Justice League having a meeting. Firestorm isn't present because he is with his parents. He's not actually opened up to anyone on the League about what's going on. Here the team update each other on the progress with the food crisis and restoring things, getting the country back on its feet again. We're gonna need the Justice League to take over after the current presidency. Am I right there, guys? It is at their meeting that they are interrupted by a hologram of their enemy who challenges them and plans to conquer the world. Let's explain who this is. This is the Avengers villain, Kronos. You know, Kronos, it is him. Sort of. This version of Kronos is a bit of an unresolved mystery. He was introduced in Avengers Annual 2. he had time travelled to the past and recruited the original Avengers to be his servants, which caused a divergent reality where he had conquered the world. A lot of conquering going on in these comics. Where's Conan? He used the Avengers to defeat and imprison every other superpowered person on Earth. Eventually, the Avengers from the then present travelled back in time, or rather, travelled to a different reality, and they battled the Avengers. At the end of that story, we found out that the villain was actually Kronos before he became Kronos. Later on, Steve Engeltine revealed more about Kronos' history and timeline, with another character now pinpointed as another iteration of Kronos. The Kronos evolution when Pharaoh Kronos had man. But between Pharaoh and Kronos was meant to be this. There is an issue of what if that continues the story. It lets the original Avengers from the past, the ones that Kronos has tricked, actually get a win. They realise they have been tricked, and Thor defeats Kronos. That's actually it for appearances of this version of Kronos before this Justice League series. Avengers Annual 2 and an issue of What If. The decision, ultimately, is that this version of Kronos is a divergence that doesn't count towards Kronos' history. He has a horrible costume. That's got to be a factor. I do wonder if his use in Justice League here was maybe Marky Mark G trying to say something else. Maybe this is the Kronos from the Justice League's timeline. Maybe he comes from the future of this Earth. He does appear a few more times in this series after this, and he has a much bigger part in the Justice League graphic novel. He's used really well in that. I won't mention what Kurt Busey did with the revolting Learn to Love Your Rapist story. This bit is actually great though, because Superman, fed up and not wanting yet another bastard to take over the Earth, he turns to Kronos and says, "If you dare attack us now at the critical stage of world recovery, I swear by all my ancestors, I will kill you. I will personally follow you to the end of eternity and tear you apart with my bare hands if you dare attack now." And it fucking works. Kronos, he backs out. And he's like, "Okay, I believe you. I'll come back another day maybe." One of my favourite scenes from the series. I was actually considering, I got quite excited about doing a themed week of this bad guy, this version of Kronos. This issue would have features, so would the Avengers Annual, and the What If, and also Avengers 56, which leads into the Annual. Well, that's only 4 comics, and that's not enough for a week, so I scrapped that. I'm not tracking down and getting Kurt Busey comics. It's not the same character anyway. He uses the name, but it is Karen Daggers's rapist from Avengers issue 200. We cut to Ray Palmer in his lab. He gets a visit from Firestorm. Firestorm wants to know if it really is his powers that have made his parents sick. And it is. And I know where we go with Firestorm as a character, which makes this all the better. We're actually building him up here as a character who we can feel for. He is a kid who unintentionally made his parents ill by proximity, and he is struggling to deal with that and their impending deaths. And here, he asks Ray Palmer, because Ray Palmer is the smartest guy in the galaxy, he asks Ray Palmer to find the cure for cancer to save his parents. Unsure of what to say, Ray Palmer says that he'll try, even though deep down he knows it's unlikely. He is determined to actually try, and to prove that it is possible. This is a good character arc, but I would be remiss to not point out that it has already been toyed with earlier in the decade with the death of Captain Marbles, the real one, Marvel. It's not a repeat or a rehash. Some of the ideas of super scientists working to try and find a cure for cancer is touched on in that. Getting back to something I said earlier in this video, this actually juggles an ensemble cast fairly well. A lot of writers, you would be getting what Mark said in the Marvel Age promotional stuff. The focus of the issue and the story would be clear. You'd have Superman as a de facto main character, and then some of the team, like Hawkman or Black Canary, they would get bit parts, whereas what we have here seems consciously aware that we cannot have characters like this only in the background. We don't really have a main character or main focus this issue, or for most of the issues. You might say, for this one, Firestorm. But remember, he wasn't in that first scene. He wasn't in the meeting scene either. We do get a lot of Firestorm in this and the next issue. But that is more because that is when his arc is taking place. You cannot drag out his dying parents for a whole series, realistically. If they are so ill that they are dying, well, that's going to happen imminently, rather than 10 issues in. I do have a hatred for what I deem idiot readers, the modern readers of comic books. And I wonder if those types would be annoyed and think that Firestorm is the main character because we get a lot of Firestorm content early. Ray Palmer has invented a containment suit for Firestorm, and Marky Mark G really quite subtly builds Firestorm's character in a very precise way, where we're kind of on his side at first. And Ray Palmer Ray Palmer is devoting all of his time to trying to find a cure. But it'll take time, and time is something that Firestorm's parents don't really have. But then, Ray Palmer realises that the answer could be time itself. Ray Palmer uses his time machine thing to travel to the future of Kronos. This version of him. Further in my belief that Marky Mark G was trying to position or reinterpret the existence of this version of Kronos as being from a future of the Justice League's Earth. That doesn't stick, obviously. People like Kurt Busey retcon all of Kronos' history in lazy, spiteful ways, and any consideration to this version of Kronos is just... oh, it doesn't matter. Who cares? It doesn't count. The point being that this version of Kronos, he wouldn't have his own empire in the future. The idea is that he hasn't become Kronos yet. This was an intermediary identity. But here we are establishing that he does have his own era where he rules. Kronos, of course, is one of the most overly complicated, bastardized chronologies in comics. I more or less get it, but I understand a lot of people, some of you, will shut down when I try to explain or talk about where this version of Kronos fits in. Anyway, Ray Palmer, he arrives via time travel. And in the future, in this Kronos' future, there is a cure to cancer and every known disease. But we have a deal with the devil type of situation. Kronos will only part with the cure if Ray Palmer will poison Superman with kryptonite. Not enough kryptonite to kill him. Kronos wants him weakened so that he can then utterly defeat his enemy in combat. Ray Palmer refuses, and our last page is a sequence of tragedy. Firestorm comes in and lashes out at him for not having produced anything so far. And then we find out straight after that, while running tests, Ray Palmer learned that he actually has cancer as well, recontextualizing much of what we have seen with his quest for a cure, especially that scene with Kronos. Secret Wild's II advert there. We've had this one before in summer with the Doctor Strange cover that doesn't exist. A little bit of glare on it as well. Shouldn't have shown it. This is great, but the thing with art is that some people don't even like the Mona Lisa. Some people prefer Abby Lisa. Nobody remembers who Abby Lisa were. They were a pair of fat birds that went on X Factor about 15 years ago, and then they started fighting on the stage, actually punching each other. Oh, you sang that one wrong, you did. Oh, I used to watch some proper trash. Now, I review comics like this. I give this a 7 thumbs up. Oh God, I've just remembered. one of Abby Lisa, I think Abby, she posed naked for some fucking, oh, some fucking lads mag. Oh god.